For this exercise, you want to hold on to a load, put it up against your chest, and then you're going to have an elevated surface, which is going to bring your heel up. Now, you're going to perform a single leg squat, but the key is to make sure to keep the body upright while you perform this exercise. And you're going to avoid leaning the trunk forward. You want to keep your body as straight as possible, versus if I was on a flat surface like this, and I was performing the single leg squat, I'd want to lean my body more forward. When you're on this elevated surface, you want to keep your body upright. And you should be feeling the burn in the quad here.
So with the anterior lunge, we're going to be primarily working on one leg. In this example, I'm going to be choosing my right leg. We're going to start with the feet together. You're going to take a step with that right leg out in front, shift your weight onto that right leg, and you're going to let your back knee drop, but your weight stays here. You're going to feel a lot of this front thigh working on top in your quad, as well as the butt and the glutes in the back. And then from here, you're going to push off using this leg back to your starting position. So from the front, this is what it looks like. Some big keys is as you're stepping, you want to keep your knee tracking directly over your toes like this. You don't necessarily want the knee to dive in, nor do you want it to dive out. So keeping it right above. In this exercise, the goal is to first get up in a split position right here in a half kneeling position. I'm really going to be working the back leg. Typically when we're in this position, maybe we're stretching the back leg or working the front leg. This is actually going to be a working front leg position. So the most important thing is that the toes are down. We can't be here or we're not going to be able to push into the ground. You want to have those toes down. The goal being I'm going to keep all my weight on my down leg. I'm going to think about driving my toes into the ground and lifting my knee up, literally like a half an inch. So I'm just going to be hovering over the ground. To do that, I'm going to have to use the muscle in the front, my quadricep muscle. So I'm in this position. I already actually feel a really good stretch in this position, which is partially why it's such a beneficial exercise. And then from here, I'm going to be pushing down, engaging my quad, and I'm lifting up just a bit and then coming down. Again, keeping the weight, trying to keep it back on my leg and push up. You're going to want to have a tendency to get away from it and shift forward, but the goal should be to try to put as much weight on that leg and hold, hover, 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 and hold. It's really, really tough on the quad muscle, the one in the front, and that's what you should be feeling working.
For this exercise, you're going to hold on to some type of load here. I'm using a kettlebell, putting it up against my chest, and then doing a squat. So with me having this elevated surface underneath my heels is going to force me to load into my forefoot a little bit more, which is going to stress my quads and the knee. So you can see here, I'm going to stress my knee a little bit more than if I was to do a squat on a flat surface like this. I'm leaning my trunk a little bit more forward. But when I'm on an elevated surface like this, I'm allowed to keep my trunk a little more upright, which is going to stress my knees more than my hips.
This is a forward step down exercise. I'm going to demonstrate it on the left side. I have my hands on my hips, and that's a really good place to put them starting out with this exercise to get some feedback. What I mean by that is I'm going to lower myself down on my left leg, reaching my right heel towards the ground, letting my left knee go forward, but I'm not letting this drop to get my right heel towards the ground. As you can see, that makes my left hand be higher than my right side. If my hips were a glass of water, I don't want that water to spill. I want to keep everything level. At the same time, I'm focused on the rest of my body. So I want to be nice and tall. I don't want to be leaning too much side to side. It's okay if your chest leans a little bit forward to sit back into your hip, but it's also okay to still let that knee come forward. Just reaching, you don't have to tap your right heel unless you want to. It all depends on how high the box is as well. But staying nice and strong, you'll feel your calf and your left quad working. If you lean more forward, you're gonna feel more of the butt working. Whatever your main focus is, that's okay. And just repeat.